Welcome back to Cartoon Analysis. I'm your host Giovanni Perez Mendez, and in this video, I will be reviewing Season 3 Episode 8, Part 2 of Star vs. the Forces of Evil, other known as Trial by Squire. Let's check it out. The episode begins with Star and Marco at Quest 5 for the 10,000th annual Quest by Blowout, and the two of them are camping outside of the main part of the store before it begins. Star is excited about this event while Marco is cutting coupons with his dimensional scissors. She wants to buy things that are wants, but Marco's priority is to buy all items on the list. The list is all of the items they need from the Squire Blowout sale for Star to become a great warrior. Other squires admire this and tell Marco of what a good job he is doing. Higgs, the main well-known squire of the group, introduces the other squires and Star introduces hers, which is Marco. Higgs then gives Marco advice and more confidence boosters before introducing him and Star to the other warriors of the squires. Higgs's warrior needs her assistance and she leaves to help out, but under her breath calls Marco a nerd, and he notices this. He asks Star about it, but she tells him not to worry. Marco forgets about it, and the two of them walk over to find a car to compete with right before the competition begins. He doesn't realize this at first but then begins hurrying to win. As the two are starting to begin, Old Man, one of the squires, had sabotaged their cart and Star replaces them using her wand with gerbils inside plastic balls. The competition starts up again for them, and the two rush to the first destination and find their first item just in time before anyone else takes it. But to be a nuisance, Baby Man decides to sabotage Star and Marco also, by ruining their desired object. This is when Marco starts going over the edge of crazy, but Star calms him down. She tries reassuring him everything will be fine, but Marco just wants to salvage his plan. The two then go on to the next destination and find their desired item, which is a living animal, a cute miniature, most likely baby horse that is the color purple. Star wants to pick her own out of the bunch, but Marco wants to meet his priorities and pick the one they most need. This discourages Star, but Marco tries convincing her they need one that is most powerful for them. While Star is still feeling down, Marco checks his list for their next item. Since he is distracted looking, Higgs decides to snatch his very miniature baby horse by luring it with a carrot, and Marco notices at the very last second. He calls her out for this, but she pretends like she hadn't done anything, and it gets to where it involves her knight's concern. Her knight begins threatening Macro for calling his squire a liar, but Star immediately chimes in and defends Marco from him. So after Higgs and her squire decide to leave for the next item, Marco becomes even more discouraged of how things are turning out since all the starter horses have been taken after he was taken. Star keeps him calm and helps him move on. Their next item is Dragon Repellent, and Marco thinks he had found his correct item, but Higgs had tricked him by covering the Dragon Attract and sign with the Dragon Repellent one instead. Marco tries on the item before noticing this trick and immediately regrets it when all of the dragons begin sitting on him because of the attract, and while the last dragon is sitting on him, Higgs mocks Marco. But as she tries leaving to the next item, Marco stops her and asks why she has been giving him a hard time. She is upset because she has work for her job, but Marco only got it because it was given to him. And the way she explains this was by thinking Star and Marco were dating, that's why he had gotten the job. But Marco immediately reassures her it isn't like that, but after she thinks then it must have been out of pity. Star then finds Marco after Higgs leaves and helps him get back on his feet. She thinks they should leave since he has been given such a hard time, but he refuses. The two of them begin running after their last item, and the other squires try to stop him, especially Higgs. She tries pushing him near sharp weapons, but he decides to stop her by tripping her onto the ground. He stops his plans from being ruined and is excited to get one of his items, but Star becomes upset with him since he is acting insane. Star gives Higgs compensation by giving her their item as she fakes being injured, but then immediately changes and acts normal while running off after getting the armor wax. Star is questioning Marco's actions, but he only wanted to help out. Marco then feels down and upset about how badly he did his job, but while he is talking, Star uses her magic to get him closer to her so they can talk. She explains the only reason she had made him her squire was so they can hang out again and do stuff as best friends, and this cheers Marco up. The intercom then announces they are almost out of time, so Marco decides to do what she had asked of him, and they buy a bunch of things. They don't even need to have fun. As they get to the cash registers, they are happy about the day they had and get things back to the way they should have had it in the first place, while having a beautiful moment again. Finally, the episode ends. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Please make sure to subscribe to this channel and turn on bell notifications to be notified of whenever I upload or stream. Leave a like and comment down below your thoughts and opinions. Finally, share this with your friends and family to help my community, Team Analyzer, become stronger. I'm your host Giovanni Perez Mendez, signing off.